Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to a very special episode of World of Warships, and the reason why it's so special is because I'm actually finally moving on to the Montana. And this has been a long time coming. I've had the Iowa for some time. I just kind of stopped on getting my way up to the Montana, basically because Montana gets its ass handed to it, but that's not always the case. But for the most part, Yamato versus a Montana, yeah, Montana generally will lose unless the Yamato makes a mistake. Anyways, so finally moving my way up to the Montana, and I've had U.S. battleships. I've been going up the USN battleship line probably since I first started. So, I mean, you can go look at my old videos. Please don't, because they're quite terrible. And you can get an understanding on how long I've actually been working on the U.S. battleship line, and I'm finally able to get onto the Montana, and this has been a long time coming, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I am sad to say goodbye to the Iowa, because the Iowa is a fantastic ship, don't get me wrong. I will explain what I mean in a little bit, but let's quickly look at her stats. Survivability, you have 79,000 points of health. Armor ranging from 16 to 307, and you can just see this bow armor, especially bow on. You cannot get penetrated by anything other than the Yamato, especially if you're facing straight towards them. But the major thing between, say, the North Carolina and the Iowa is the fact that the Citadel armor is actually quite a bit higher. And this means it's a little bit easier to actually get citadeled, especially if you're facing off against USN battleship line. You can get citadel if they are close range. So you do have to keep that in mind. Your citadel is actually a little bit higher. Like if we go take a look at the North Carolina. I haven't played the North Carolina in such a long time. But yeah, you can see the Citadel actually sits a little bit below the water, so quite a bit of difference as far as where the armor placement is and where the Citadel is. So, survivability, pretty nice. Artillery is fantastic. You have 3 triple 406 millimeters, and since they did the buff to the dispersion on USN battleship shells, they're more or less. Sometimes they still go sporadic, but they're a little bit more accurate. So range, you have a beautiful range of 23.3 kilometers. Reload time is 30 seconds. Turn time on the guns are a bit slow, but they're not the worst. 38.3 seconds, and a max dispersion of 261 meters at the full extent of your range. Max HE damage is 5,700, but the AP is fantastic, 13,500. And shell velocity is 820 meters per second. Sorry, that is for the HE. The AP is a little bit slower. It kind of has that lofty arc similar to the USN cruisers with a 762 meters per second. So that's still pretty good. Still fantastic. Secondary armaments, you have 10 dual 127 millimeters, and they have a range, as far as with my captain, of 6 kilometers. So decent. I will have to say decent. You could do a secondaries build. I've heard some people do secondary builds on USN battleships. It's not that common, but it's fully feasible. So still pretty good. AA defense is fantastic. It is probably one of the, if not the best, anti-aircraft battleships there are in the game. So you have 32 dual 20 millimeters, which is fantastic. Range of 2.4 kilometers. Max damage of, or sorry, better yet, average damage per second is 236 points. Then you have 19 quads, 40 millimeters of the Bofors, and they have a range of 4.2 kilometers with a average damage of 366. And then your secondaries are, oh, they're lordly. Anyway, you have 10 dual 127 millimeters of the Mark 32s with an average damage of 183, or sorry, yeah, average damage of 183 with a 6 kilometer range. And yeah, most CVs don't really go after Iowas unless they really have to. especially just depending on what they did with the captains. I'll talk about my captain in just a little bit. Maneuverability, max speed is 33 knots. She is the fastest battleship in the game. She has a horrible turning circle radius of 920 meters. That is on par with the Yamato. Let me grab my Yamato real quick. Of 900 meters. So the Iowa actually has a larger turning circle radius than the Yamato. And anyone that has captained the Yamato knows that she turns like a brick. So the Iowa is not much better. But the Iowa is fast in a straight line. So that's always nice. Rudder shift time is 15.6 seconds. Not bad. It's decent. Concealment. This should be a little pop-up like, hey, I went a stealth build on my Iowa. So my detection is 12.5. And if you throw a camouflage on it, we'll just grab one real quick, it drops it down to 12.2 kilometers. So I kind of recommend this. This is at least my thought on it, is it's better if you stay undetected. More so, especially if you're facing off against Yamatos and any other ships like that. So I like the concealment build. It is fantastic, but detectability range by air is 11 kilometers, so pretty good. Now, I probably should point out what I have at least on my builds. So starting off, main armaments modification 1, and then I went for the AA guns mod 2, and this increases the range by 20%, which is always very helpful. And this is the unique thing about US Battleship, is they get the artillery plotting room 2, and this increases the decreases the dispersion on main battery shells by 11%. Still, sometimes it doesn't feel like it. RNGesus can really screw you over. Then obviously Damcon system mod 1, and then steering gear, and then concealment modification 1. Now my captain is a 15-point captain. Actually, he's a 16-point captain, I probably should point out. Obviously, I went for basic survivability, basics firing training, which increases the average damage of your A defense by 10%. And then expert marksman, then superintendent, and this is where you can kind of, I guess, mess around with it. You can either go for manual fire control for AA armaments. This gives you 100% damage, or 100% to average damage per second of AA caliber exceeding 85 millimeters against a priority target. So as long as you are actually aware and you click on incoming planes, you can do pretty good damage even against a tier 10. Now you could always go for advanced firing training, and this buffs your range of calibers up to 139 millimeters by 20%, which is very, very beneficial. Or sorry, 20% to AA defense firing range. So you can go this. This increases your bubble around your Iowa. So you can always go for that. I just went for this. This gives me more damage against airplanes. And then obviously I went for concealment expert, which decreases the detectability. I highly recommend it for US battleships. They really do need that. So yeah, but other than that, one little side note as to why I was kind of leery about getting the Montana is that the Montana, well, she's a bit bigger. That's probably one main concern. The Iowa is fairly narrow. Like here, I'll try to show you this. Okay, you can see how wide she is from side to side. She's fairly wide, and then you go over to the Iowa, and she's fairly narrow. So that's the more beautiful, beneficial thing about the Iowa. And so this allows you to slip into in between torpedoes more regularly than a Montana could. Montana has that big, wide waist, apparently. So, and then also probably a secondary thing is that the Montana, you go from 2 guns in front on the Iowa and 1 gun in the back, and then you go to the Montana, which is a 2-2. And I don't know if it's psychological, but generally people will show a little bit more broadside to enemy targets compared to the Iowa. Usually whenever you're playing the North Carolina or the Iowa, you will point your bow at the enemy and fire away. You will rarely use your third turret, but I think in the Montana's case, that's half your firepower in the back. And so psychologically, a lot of more people are wanting to bring that into play because, yeah, that's half your firepower right in the rear of the ship. And if you're pointing your bow, you're not able to actually use it. So that's why I think a lot more people are generally showing more broadside. And that might be why the Montana always gets shit on, because people are playing her, I hate to say it, playing her wrong. And I will probably play her wrong too, because it's psychological. So you really have to get into the idea of keeping the same effect, because the Yamato will do it, the Iowa, the North Carolina, those battleships will do it because it's a good tactic. You don't get a lot of armor penetration from the bow, but if you show your broadside, yeah, you will get penetrated. But other than that, we are going to say goodbye to the Iowa for the last time. Now, will I ever come back to the Iowa? Probably. If I have the enough credits, I will probably come back to the Iowa because I enjoyed the ship. The ship was fun. It is a fun ship, and hopefully you guys will enjoy my last replay with the Iowa, and I'll see you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome to the last game I had with my Iowa, and I'm really going to miss the ship. It has been a long time coming from moving on the U.S. Battleship line ever since I first got World of Warships. That's been well over a year ago. I think July was when I started playing in beta. So I've been playing this game for a while, and I've had the Battleship U.S. line for a while, and it's been a long time coming. So we are currently playing on Sea of Fortune, and this is actually a good game for me because it's a tier 9 match. Most times you'll get geared up towards tier 9, which you can do reasonably well, but most times you still have to deal with those higher caliber shells like the Yamato. So on our team, there is a Iowa, North Carolina, Bismarck, Gneisenau, Baltimore, Rune, Otago, Aeropede, Takao, Indianapolis, Fletcher, Kagero, and Kiev. On the enemy team, there's a Iowa, North Carolina, Tirpitz, Gneisenau, Baltimore, Donskoy, Hipper, Pensacola, Yoko, Kagero, Udoy, and a Benson. Now, on the Sea of Fortune, I would almost highly recommend moving towards B and C. The reason why I recommend this is B and C you can always defend. You can move between. But A is really cut off from B through that narrow channel. Now I do take a look at the Iowa, kind of debating whether or not to fire, but he's not really showing that broadside that I was hoping for. So instead, let's see how much damage we can do on the Tirpitz. Tirpitz, whenever faced up against the Iowa, its armor just does not do very well. So fortunately we weren't detected here. I'm going to use this island to my benefit because it looks like at least half of their team has moved to C. Plus the incoming Donskoy and the Baltimore and the Iowa also moving over. So we do have to be a little bit leery. It looks like we should be fine as long as we don't rush things. Now, all our destroyers have moved to A, B, and C. And this is what should happen when you have 3 destroyers. You should have at least a destroyer at each cap just to ensure that they're capping. So hopefully we can get at least B and A, because it looks like the majority of their team's moving over to C. We do know there is at least a destroyer in at C, who's actually currently capping. Now, the first salvo on the Iowa wasn't the greatest. We bounced shells, and now we attract the attention of the Baltimore. And there we go. Second salvo, we actually got a Citadel. Very nice. Very nice indeed. Let's hopefully the salvo will actually reach over that mountain. Sometimes those mountains can prove annoyance. Trust me. And we get a ricochet. Lovely. So this position right here is actually a really good position because I can't really get hit on my broadside on my right. So I'm showing my bow to the front. And it looks like there is a Benson that just took out our friendly Fletcher, and Benson does disappear. Now that Benson could in theory go around, but I probably do have a cruiser. Now, when I was playing, I was not actually aware that a cruiser to the northwest of me, and I should be fine. You can see I'm actually looking over there. I'm expecting that Benson to come around and try to torp me, but I should be fine. Now that salvo I just fired at the Tirpitz way too close to the island. Island ate all my shells. How dare he? Island, you know, deserved it, I guess.
The ship is on fire.
So, good position right now. Can't really get hammered by any annoying ships such as the Iowa, which is right in front of me. But the Donskoy, and I believe it's a hip. There's also a hipper over there. And yes, we take out the enemy Miyoko with the Citadel, and that was a devastating strike. I feel happy about that. There's that Donskoy, and I think it's a hipper that's actually shooting me right now with HE. Yep, that's a hipper. And hasn't got a fire. Let's go ahead and use our heal. There's North Carolina firing at long range. Don't think he's being very useful for his team. Kind of keep an eye on that North Carolina. He's kind of play important, I guess, later on. We'll see how this goes. So our team has both A and B. There is a destroyer currently fighting off against a Donskoy and an enemy destroyer, but majority of our team is sitting just north of C with a destroyer. I don't really know what this destroyer is doing over at A. It's just kind of sailing in circles right now. Don't really understand it. And ooh, there's a Pensacola showing me a broadside. Be a shame if he got a Citadel. Be a downright shame. Ah, there we go. 2 Citadels. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. And oh, what is this Gneisenau doing? This Gneisenau, I think, has balls of steel or something, because he's really pushed up. And now he's getting focused on by our team. And he is broadside to me, and German armor against my shells probably won't really do much. Let's see. 18.0k points of damage. Not bad. I would gladly take that. It's knocked off a majority of his health. And looks like we're getting hammered away. I'm guessing from the Iowa, or even possibly the North Carolina. And that's the Donskoy. Or even the Baltimore. I think it's the Baltimore. Yep, it's the Baltimore. This Baltimore. Also keep an eye on the Baltimore. Those 2 ships. Keep an eye on both those ships. Because it will get interesting here in just a little bit. Now, we have A and B. We've lost a destroyer over at B. And we have another destroyer sitting in between A and B, and we'll see how long this friendly destroyer lasts. Now, he's our last destroyer on our team. There's still a, I believe, Udaloy and a Kagero floating around somewhere. Don't quite know where they're at. Last time we saw the Kagero, he was in cap, but he's probably moved on. So I'm actually going to start pushing to cap. We need to at least take control of C. Because we don't want the team to actually gain control of B and take the lead. So I'm going to push into C. I'm fairly certain there's no enemy destroyer. Oh, there's a Kagero to our left. You can see that I just realized, oh crap, there is a Kagero. So, Kagero, not something I really want to deal with. I'm going to start turning my bow in. We aren't spotted. This is one beautiful thing about my captain, is the very low detection range, and I'm able to stay out of range for the most part, but it looks like I'm trying to figure out who is catching us. I think it is the Donskoy that might have spotted us, possibly. And there's the Kagero. Torps incoming. Fortunately, he is sitting more so by the island, and I'm able to move out of the way. That's good. That is fantastic. And I think an Udaloy is actually coming in range. There is the Hipper. I really want to take out this Hipper, but I think I probably should have focused on the Udaloy. Udaloy probably should have been more focused on, because he's going to prove kind of annoyance. Now, we did lose our last destroyer to the Baltimore. And B is currently being captured by the Donskoy. And it looks like the Baltimore is actually moving into A. So at this time, we probably need to go and make sure we don't lose B or A. Now the Donskoy is a great ship, just don't show broadside to said ship. Now the Udaloy has fire torpedoes. Didn't get a citadel on that Udaloy, which is unfortunate. You can see here I still really want this Hipper. Really do want him. Fire to Salvo, not likely to hit. And we are being detected by more than likely the radar by the Nonskoy. And oh great, there are torpedoes coming. Taking really big steps in the other direction. Fortunately, the Iowa has fantastic speed, but it's kind of slow on the uptake. But I think we might be able to dodge this. Oh, do not want to run into island. Ooh, do not want to run into island right now. That would be bad. There we go. Okay, we dodged torpedoes. That has pushed me out of C-cap, and since I figured might as well let's push over to B and take care of this Donskoy. Because we know the Donskoy is in B, and we know, well, you guys will know that the Baltimore is over at A right now, because he will play important here in just a little bit. Now, the only other missing cruiser is the Pensacola. The same Pensacola that I citadel twice. And last known spot was over by A. So he's more likely has joined up with the Baltimore and is probably trying to provide cover fire for him. But, yep, there he was. He was spotted just for a second. And he should be easy to deal with. But first, I have to be concerned about this Donskoy. This Donskoy has decent range torpedoes. Has actually 8-kilometer torpedoes. So you do want to keep a weary eye on a Donskoy. Now, you should see me. I'm going to start turning away anytime now because we are getting to a point where he might be able to fire his torpedoes, but fortunately we're not detected. And this is a big, big thing because we're not being detected. And this Donskoy doesn't know where we're at until right about now. There's a nice little broadside, kind of angled, but our shells should be able to penetrate. A decent amount of damage. Almost 6,000 points of damage, and there is the Baltimore. Now a USN cruiser this close firing AP at a broadside Iowa can do quite a bit of amount of damage. My guns are reloading, and oh, here comes the salvo from the Baltimore. You can see he did a fairly sizable chunk towards us. Now the Baltimore is behind the island, so he's not going to be able to be fired on. I fire a salvo at the Pensacola. RNGesus said nope. Okay, I'll fire another salvo. This should be able to take care of that Pensacola. There we go. Got our second kill of the game. We're sitting at almost 120,000 points of damage. Pretty good. I am satisfied with that. Now, the Donskoy is still alive. And he is currently firing at us, but he has the entire enemy team focusing him down, so he should be able to be killed off here soon. Yep, there he goes. Good. Now, all that's left on the enemy team is that North Carolina that I pointed out earlier, and that Baltimore. And the Baltimore just shot down my plane, which was spotting them both. And here we're going to play a bit of a game of hide and seek. Now, the Baltimore probably won't be able to take me out. He could probably do fairly sizable chunk of damage, just depending on how many Citadel hits he does get. So I do have to be leery on showing him a broadside as well as that North Carolina, because that North Carolina can do fairly sizable chunk of damage as well. Obviously, hitting your Citadel can definitely do big damage. And now we are currently being spotted by the Baltimore. Used his radar, so gonna take my time. No need to rush this. And now we're being detected by the North Carolina. Still showing us a broadside. Let's see how much damage we can get on this North Carolina. Hopefully a Citadel would be nice if RNGesus was kind. Nope. Not in the slightest. Of course. But we do still know there's a Baltimore around. Don't know where he is, but he's somewhere. And hopefully you guys are understanding where I'm going. Because he's probably closer than what most people would assume. Guns are reloaded. North Carolina has made it behind the island. No longer can spot him. And our team is taking B. Where is this Baltimore? I almost started singing some VeggieTales, which is very odd. Oh, there is the Baltimore. If he has AP, he can do a sizable chunk. And he fires HE at me, showed me a broadside, and there we go. 3 citadels. We get a kill, high caliber, and devastating strike. I love the Iowa. Such a fantastic ship. So, Baltimore is dead. He was actually fairly good about it. He did not get all pissy. I did point out he probably should have fired AP. He's like, yeah, should have. And I'm like, you surprised me. Good job. So our team earned a victory, and we earned 440,676 silver, 12,280 XP, and 2,456 free XP. We got 2 devastating strikes and high caliber. Damage, we did 165,290. 40 shell hits, 1 plane shot down, 2 incapacitation, 3 ships destroyed, 7 citadels, 2 defended base caps, and 9 secondary hits, which you don't see that often with the Iowa. Not saying it never happens, but something you don't see very often. Now, it is unfortunate that I was not able to show off the impressive AA build that I have on the Iowa, but it is what it is. You'll just have to take me at my word that it's an AA is fantastic. And we earned top of the team with a base XP of 2,306 XP. Damage-wise, we did almost 43,000 on the Baltimore, 32,000 on the Pensacola, and 25,000 on the Miyoko, and 30,000 on the Donskoy. So pretty good. Pretty good. Not the highest damage I've done in the Iowa, but still a very fun battle. After everything is said and done, we brought home 298,176 silver. Now I'm going to have to say I'm going to miss the Iowa. The Iowa is a fantastic ship, and I don't want to say it might be better than Montana. We'll see how I fare in the Montana, but hopefully it will go over pretty well. I'm going to miss her, and it's been a long time coming going on to the Montana. Like I said, I've been playing World of Warships since July of 2015, and I have gone up the US Battleship line since as early as possible. So it's been well almost a year and a half of working up the US Battleship line. Now, essentially what came down to is that I don't want to say I got stuck. I don't want to say I got bored either. But it's kind of like I got bored. Actually, I got distracted. I'll go with distracted. I got distracted by new lines, and so the pushing to the Tier 10 Montana just got postponed due to these new tech trees and these new lines that I was going up. So it's great to actually move on to the Montana. I'm going to miss the Iowa. So this is going to be it for this episode of World of Warships. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai Jin.